Hey everyone. Okay, I'm trying something new and I'm trying to help answer more parenting questions, pediatric concerns. And so I'm going to try and do a live video every day that I'm not rounding at the hospital. So I feel really lucky for my patients. I am able to go to the hospital and see them as newborns in the hospital each day when they're born. And so I do that most mornings. But if I don't have to round, then you're going to find me on here for what I've termed, well, I have to look and see what I called it, Parenting Daily Dose Live. I'm a little agnostic about that name. So if you have a much better name, I liked branding and naming and things and everything like that. And so if you have a better name, then please feel free to suggest and I will happily change it. But I thought Parenting Daily Dose is about parenting. It's hopefully going to be as daily as possible. Dose because, doctor and all those sorts of things. And so this is just something new that I'm going to try and I'm going to answer your questions. So I have some questions today. If you have a question, the easiest way, you can comment below and I'll try and look at them before I hop off. But if not, I'll check the comments after I'm done. And also, if you would like, if you go to at the bottom here, it says pbmd.co/question is where you can submit a question. It'll come into my little holding cell for questions, and then I'll answer it on the next live or in the coming days. So you just keep watching. But we're going to go ahead and start. So I have a couple questions. So got to move myself just a bit. Hi, Dr. B. How do you figure out the best discipline for your child? It feels like we've tried it all. My daughter struggles with transitions most, and no amount of pre-warning seems to help with the tantrums. And this is a mom of a 3.5-year-old and a 1-month-old. So very common. You feel like you've tried it all. You're not really sure, okay, what actually works. And especially transitions. Transitions are tough for everybody. When we're doing something we like doing, who wants to stop doing that? Who wants to, stop watching their favorite show or, playing their game or drawing a picture or whatever it might be? And that's the most common time where parents find that they try pre-warning, hey, we're going to stop in a minute, hey, we're going to stop in 2 minutes. And then we get to that point and things still melt down. First and foremost, remember that this is a phase and it will not always be that way. Your child will acquire those skills to transition properly and be able to move on from watching Frozen or coloring a picture or eating dinner, whatever it might be that they're doing that they're enjoying. They will get to the point where they are able to do that. But there's a couple things that you can do that make it a little bit easier. In terms of parenting, like what is the right parenting style? I try and avoid labels or we're this type of parent or we're that type of parent. I focus on connecting and then building skills. And so connecting looks like, hey, it's one thing to like say, hey, we're going to leave in a minute, just kind of throwing that out there to the general audience of whoever might be listening, except your child's watching Frozen or they're coloring or they're eating or they're, engrossed in whatever they're doing. So they probably don't even hear you when you say that. And you feel like, okay, well, I gave them a warning, but then I did that. So I think connection works best first, meaning you get down at their level, which might mean looking them in the eye or pausing their show and saying, hey, I know that you're watching this. I love this scene too. This is my favorite song that Elsa sings. We're going to leave in 3 minutes. So after this song, we're going to leave. Understand? Okay, play. That is more connection. You can, and then they feel like, okay, I know that I get to watch for the rest of the song because I have a very general idea of what it means. We're going to leave in 3 minutes. I don't really know what that means. I'm engrossed in the music, the show that I'm watching, the coloring that I'm doing, whatever it might be. I don't really know what it means when we're going to leave in 3 minutes. And so I'm going to get upset because I didn't know that 3 minutes was up when this song was over. So get down at their level, look them in the eye, make sure they have their attention, and then let them know what the plan is, and then get some buy-in. Say, I understand that you really want to watch this. We do have to get going, so we're going to watch this song. But when we get in the car, what if we put on some Elsa music? Do you want to pick out an Elsa song when we get in the car? And then that helps to kind of grease the wheels of transitions. You can do that for everything, but transitions are hard for everybody, and it does take a lot of time and practice to learn that skill. So rather than a specific parenting style, connect, build skills, reflect back when things have gone well and when things haven't gone well. Hey, it was really nice that after that song, I turned the TV off and then you got your shoes on and we got in the car and we left for school. That went really well, wasn't it? That was really nice. Or, hey, I know that you got really upset because that Elsa song was over. We were watching that and then we had to go to school and you kind of got upset because your shoes weren't where you were expecting them. Is there something that we could do next time that would make it easier? Well, I'd love to watch Elsa in the car too, but we don't watch shows when we go, for drives. But what if we picked a song? What's your favorite song that we listen to on Frozen? Something along those lines can help to grease the wheels without just kind of giving in and caving in. So those would be my suggestions. Realize that it is a phase and it will get better with time. And eventually your 3.5-year-old will be 5 and you'll be able to say, hey, go get dressed and brush your teeth and we'll get going for school. And at least 40% of the time they'll accomplish that task. And then by the time they're 9, it'll be like 80% of the time. And then by the time they're 18, it will be 99% of the time. So it just takes time and it just takes practice over time. But it does come with time. Okay. The next question, my 14.5-month-old loves to eat. He cries for food regardless of how much he's eaten, and most of the time his tummy is distended and full. I don't want to starve a growing baby, but can babies overeat? He begs for food like a dog. So in general, no, they won't overeat. They'll be good at regulating how much they eat. He may just be having a growth spurt. He might just be hungry. I would just put out the food that you want him to eat on a plate and let him choose what he wants to eat. And if he, in his way, signals more, then I would say, well, you do know your body best. And so you probably want some more. And then I would give him more, and keep offering. You can always extend it out over time. Hey, we just need to wait a minute to let our tummy settle. 14-month-old really won't quite understand that. So I would kind of just drizzle the food out, so to speak, in terms of give him a little bit, see if he's still hungry, give him a little bit more. If you're giving him healthy food, if you're making healthy choices of a well-rounded diet, then I really wouldn't limit the amount that they eat. I would just say, you know your body and what your body needs. And if you get so sick that you throw up because you're so full, then I'll be the parent that responds by slowing things down and making sure that we don't throw up. But otherwise, I would just let him kind of set the tone for how much he eats. He's probably just a growing boy. Oops. Okay. Next question. Hi, Dr. B. My first grader shows some signs of ADHD, but we're noticing them at home, not at school. Would there be a benefit to pursuing an official diagnosis? And this is the mom of a 7 and a 9-year-old, so it's probably the 7-year-old if they're a first grader. ADHD. So in general, what we know about ADHD is that it is both in 2 different settings. So typically we see symptoms of ADHD at school and at home. And the typical things that you see are kind of what you picture for ADHD, including fidgetiness, including impulsivity, including getting distracted easily, getting off task easily. We have a whole symptom catalog that we kind of go through when we're entertaining the idea of ADHD to decide, okay, is this normal? Is this what we would expect for this age? Is it just a little bit outside of the normal and we can do some more interventions? Or is this way outside of what we would expect for a first grader, a third grader, an 8th grader? And we need to do a little bit more investigation of, is this the diagnosis that we're, looking for and trying to figure out? Does it help to have a diagnosis? It does help to have a diagnosis in terms of school, knowing, okay, here are some things that we can do to make school better for our child, their learning experience, the classroom experience, the experience with the teacher, the experience with the rest of those students in the class. There's value to having that diagnosis. Also in terms of like developing a 504 plan, which we help families do, so that they can get the resources that they need for their child to be successful. I liken it to a child with asthma. Are you going to make a child with asthma run until they're coughing and out of breath without saying, okay, before we run, we take our albuterol medicine, we do our inhaler, we adjust our activities when it's allergy season and those sorts of things so that we can do what we can to help our child with asthma to be successful. I mean, if you look, there's, 20% of Olympic athletes I just remember that statistic. I don't remember where I saw it. 20% of Olympic skiers have asthma and use controller medicines. It doesn't make them any less of a great Olympic level gold medal skier that they have asthma. It's just that's how their body works, and we respond appropriately by treating them and helping them to develop the endurance and stamina, blah blah blah, that they need in order to be successful at their sport. In the same way, we're not going to withhold therapy. We're not going to withhold 504 plan. We're not going to withhold medications if that's what they need, because we have a mental health diagnoses for our child. And so I do think that it's helpful to get that diagnosis. It doesn't mean that it's going to be on their permanent record. It doesn't mean they're not going to be able to participate in whatever in the future. It's good to have those things and to get those things evaluated with your pediatrician so that you can get the proper support. And perhaps it's just some skills that we need to work on with our child. Now, in this specific question, it was really a matter of we're noticing them at home, but not at school. Typically, what I see when we have the diagnosis of ADHD is both settings. And if it's one setting and not the other setting, then you wonder if we just have some skills that we need to work on, both parent skills and child skills. Maybe we're asking too many tasks of them back to back to back. Can you brush your teeth, get your backpack on, get your shoes on, get your coat on, and get in the car? Sometimes I even forget some of those tasks as an adult. And I don't think I have ADHD, but it's hard to get all those tasks done. So perhaps we can write them down for our child so that they know, or we can have, here's kind of what we do first is we brush our teeth, then we eat breakfast. It seems like, okay, they should be able to do these things, but adults even struggle with these things. So I don't think that it's something that you feel like you're coddling your child just because you're writing down the morning routine or the evening routine or helping them out in those ways until they get used to, okay, in the morning I get up and I brush my teeth, and then I get dressed, and then I eat breakfast, and then I put my shoes on and my backpack on and I get in the car. Well, eventually we'll be able to do that, of course, but we might need to help them along with that and make the instructions more simple. Or, hey, go get your shoes, come back to me, and I'll give you your next instruction. Eventually we can go get your shoes and your backpack and then get in the car, and we'll be able to handle those things. But it might be that we're just expecting a little bit too much of them if we're only seeing it in one setting, like at home. So I guess that would be my thoughts on that. It's always great if you have concerns about ADHD. I think parents are often reluctant to reach out because they're afraid they're going to get labeled, their child's going to get labeled. It's going to impact their education. Getting the proper evaluation, diagnosis or not, not diagnosis, they don't have this, is so helpful to parents because it helps them to know what they should do, what they don't need to do, so that they can do a better job as a parent. Okay, boom. Okay, so a question just came in. I'm going to see if I can figure out how to add this to broadcast. Oops, that looks a little bit rough. Okay, that'll be a tomorrow thing that we figure out how to do that. But I'm just going to read the question here. We have been having actually, I know what I can do. No, I'll just do that. I'm trying to get ahead of myself. We've been having some issues at home and at daycare with our 19-month-old hitting and scratching. We've tried getting on her level and explaining we don't hit when we're frustrated, or we ignore if the hit was because she was trying to get us to do something. It doesn't seem to be getting better. At what point will she get it? So the question is, what do we do about hitting and scratching in that 19-month-old? And hitting, scratching, and biting are super common, and I get asked about hitting, biting, and scratching all the time, and I've done videos in the past and try and reference those, but I can never talk about it enough because it's something that, one, you don't want your child to be a hitter, and when they hit, you worry that that's what they're going to do and they're going to be a bully or something like that. First of all, hitting is very normal at this age, and it doesn't mean that they're going to be a bully or have aggression issues in the future. Scratching and biting are the exact same manifestation of I don't have control as a 19-month-old. They're not doing what I want. I don't know how to express myself. This gets results. And things that get results get repeated. And things that get attention get repeated. So if you find that you react strongly when your child hits or bites you, which is normal, like who likes to be hit, bit, or scratched, if that gets attention, then that will perpetuate it. And so what I do when our kids have done this in their ages and stages is try and be as nonplussed by it as possible. Obviously, it hurts and it takes a little bit to not overreact to getting hit, bit, scratched. But we don't bite. And then I just try and set them down and withdraw attention a little bit from it. If it's a big attention, why would you hit me? Don't you love me? I'm your mother, I'm your father. We can't do that. You know, you're going to get kicked out of daycare if you do that. If you just give them a bunch of attention, like they don't know what you're saying necessarily, but it gives them a bunch of attention, and we do things that get us attention. You know, kids do that, adults do that. I mean, everybody does things that get more attention. And so what I recommend is being as nonplussed about it as possible, not making it a big deal, and moving on from it. You don't have to give lectures. You don't have to try and teach them to do differently, or it certainly is helpful to get down on their level, but I would just make it as little attention as absolutely possible towards hitting, biting, scratching, because they're very normal. Children will do whatever gets attention, and they'll keep doing it. One thing that happened at our house with one of our kids, I don't remember which one it was they would run off with the remote control. And of course, I'm going to jump off the couch, and I'm going to chase after them because I don't want to throw it in the toilet. I don't want them to chuck it and break it, because that's happened before too. Everyone's going to be mad if they hit pause on the show, and then really everything hits the fan. So I'm going to run after them. And then what they're going to do is they're going to keep doing that because it gets attention. And look at my mom or dad chasing after me down the hallway to get the remote back for me. Huge attention deposit in the attention bank. If you're less excited about it, if you make as little attention given to it as possible, then those things will resolve on their own. Hitting, biting, and scratching are typically a 12 to 24 month thing. They last for a month or two. You get the notes from daycare. A couple months later, you'll get the note from daycare that your kid got hit, bit, scratched, and you just realize that that's a normal part of toddlerhood, and it's very normal and nothing to worry about or give a lot of attention to. In general, the bottom line for hitting, biting, and scratching is just give it as little attention as possible, and it will pass with time, realizing that as they develop their communication skills, they'll get better and better. If you notice that it's coming, because sometimes you can see in their face that they're going to hit, bite, scratch, then you can say, oh, we don't do that, or you can try and connect with them at that moment. But once they've done it, I would try not to make any fuss about it as possible. And then what I would say, I thought I had one more thought that was coming to me about hitting, biting, and scratching. The last thing that I will say is, as you notice they start to come out of it and they do it less and less, you can comment on that. Not right at the moment, but a little bit later you can say, oh, sometimes when you got upset before you would hit me, or sometimes when you got upset you would bite me, but you didn't bite me this time. Thank you for not biting me. Seems like that shouldn't be something that you have to tell your child, but it certainly actually does help to, give positive affirmation when they do things that they shouldn't, that they used to do. Okay, there was one more question. Okay, hi, Dr. B. How do you recommend breastfeeding families begin weaning? 13-month-old currently nurses 3 times a day and once overnight. So common question is, how do we wean breastfeeding? And this is something that, I think it's certainly good to talk to your pediatrician about, and hopefully they can help you to come up with a plan. It's pretty straightforward and easy to wean breastfeeding in terms of me telling you that, because all I have to do is tell you it, then you have to go do it. The way that I tell parents that want to wean breastfeeding, whether it's at 12 months or at 18 months or 6 months, whenever they want to wean breastfeeding, is I say, count the number of sessions that you do on an average day. It doesn't have to be perfect, but typically we do 8 sessions. Typically we do 3 sessions. And I would say eliminate one of those sessions each week, so that on a weekly basis we were at 7 nursing sessions. The next week we're going to be at 6. The next week we're going to be at 5. And that gives you a nice off-ramp to slowly wean down breastfeeding. It's good for your body to go slowly. It's good for your child to go slowly. It's good, for making it as smooth of a process as possible. Most of the time parents wean daytime first and then the around nighttime. So going down to bed at night and then waking up in the morning are usually the last ones to go, which is quite normal. So the easiest thing to do is wean a daytime session, work your way down on the number of daytime sessions, and then hit those last 2. down to bed and first thing in the morning. I find that most parents have the most success with so you work your way down, all the daytime sessions are gone over that number of weeks. And then you do first thing in the morning, you just have breakfast, when they get up, so they're not nursing first thing in the morning. And then getting rid of the nighttime one is typically the last one that people get rid of. And what you do instead is you have a little routine. You don't nurse, but you read a story, you cuddle, you put them down awake in their crib, you say night night, and then you leave. And so that is typically how most parents find most success with nighttime weaning of breastfeeding. You can do it a little bit faster, you can do it a little bit slower. There's no perfect amount of time, but I typically just say 1 nursing session per week. Drop that until you get to none. Hope that helps. This has been fun. I hope it's been fun for you. If there's something that has been helpful on here, hit the like button. If there's been something that you heard that you know somebody that would benefit from, please hit the share button, and we'll do this again tomorrow. Have a great day. Keep up the good work.